Today I'm going to present about chapter 16. My topic, the chapter 16 topic was Renaissance and the Reformation. Renaissance means rebirth, one period of great creativity, revival, and the rebirth of civilization was called Renaissance. The Renaissance brought new era, art, science, and learning. Renaissance also show about the importance of individual achievement. And the new era. The new era refers to a significant period marked by transformative change in global interaction and culture and art, reflecting a shift in societal norms and values. Factors that contribute to the emergence of the Renaissance. First was Greek scholars settled in Western Europe. Second, growing weakness of the church. Third, new pattern in Western Europe. Fourth, direct contact with Arab traders. Fifth, invention of the printing press. The first one, Greek scholars settled in Western Europe. Greek scholars play a foundational role in the emergence of the Renaissance by bringing to Western Europe long-lost classical Europe knowledge, manuscript, and Greek language, so that it brought back these knowledge, so it ignited the emergence of the Renaissance. The second one, growing weakness of the church. Growing weakness of the church declined, the rise of secularism, the spread of humanism, and a shift in patronage. This made the emergence of the Renaissance to emerge freely and create the new method freely. The third one, new pattern in Western Europe are include wealthy merchant families and bankers. These patterns enable artists to experiment with new techniques like perspective, realism, and classical themes, transforming artists from craftsmen into celebrate intellectual. And the direct contact with Arab. This acts as a crucial bridge for the transmission of lost classical knowledge. The introduction of advanced scientific methodologies and the transfer of critical technologies through trade, the crusade, and the culture centers. Printing press. The factor that ignited the rise of Renaissance was the printing press, and this enabled the mass production of books, which lower cost and shatter the elite monopoly on information. Famous Renaissance scholar. The first one was Erasmus. Erasmus was also known as a father of humanist movement. He criticized the church for its focus on pomp rather than the teaching of Christ. Dante, the second one, the father of Italian poetry, and the famous epic poem was Divina Commedia. It deals with the journey to the next world and the circle of hell. And the Petrarch. Petrarch was the first Italian scholar to arouse interest in the study of Greco-Roman classic and travel Europe in search of ancient Roman and Greek manuscript and wrote poetry using sonnet. A sonnet is the 13 line, which a story that made with 13 lines, and it is only found in Italian during that time. Italy, I mean Italy. Giovanni Boccaccio. Boccaccio, 1313 to 1375, was a seminal Italian writer, poet, and scholar who served as a primary architect of Renaissance humanism. And Boccaccio was famous for his work Decameron, a collection of 100 stories.
Okay. Mm, Miguel de Cervantes. Miguel de Cervantes, 1547 to 1616, is the Spanish titan of the Golden Age, often paired with Boccaccio and Machiavelli as the architect of modern Western literature. And Cervantes also famous for writing the story of the Don Quixote. Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, his full name was, and 1564 to 1616 is the final pillar in this quarter of transformative writers. And Shakespeare was one of the finest writers in the English language. Renaissance art. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, the polymath genius of the age, work in printing, sculptures, math, botany, and botany, geology, engineering, and so on. Mona Lisa was famous because of him, and another famous of his work was the Last Supper. Leonardo da Vinci work are still with us today and are admired by the world. Michelangelo. Michelangelo, his full name was Michelangelo Buonarroti, represents the physical manifestation of the ideals explored by the longest. He was the longest life of the architect and writers, which mean in history, in the world of poet and writer, he was the longest, and he lived the longest in age. Michelangelo, his painting decorate the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. The Titian. Titian was the preeminent master of the Venetian High Renaissance and the longest lived of the. And Titian produced more than 700 paintings, including portraits of popes, merchants, nobles, and the ladies. Renaissance science. Roger Bacon, founder of experimental science. Roger Bacon take us back a century before Boccaccio, standing as the medieval bridge to the scientific mindset that later influenced the Renaissance giant we have discussed. Do you guys remember the Renaissance giant?
No.
So that you will see in conclusion. giant. Bacon applied experimental observation to the natural world. Roger Bacon was the first scientist that discovered many things by his own, and he experienced them with the he experiments them by himself, which means during that time no one ever experiments in science like him. He was the first that discovered many part of science. Copernicus was Polish astronomer. He propounds the heliocentric theory of the Earth, according to which the Earth, Moon, planets, and stars orbit around the Sun. In conclusion, in this chapter we've learned about different ways that the factor that influenced the emergence of Renaissance, different scholars, different art, and so on. Question time.